What if becoming fearless isn't actually about conquering your fears, but realizing you've been afraid of the wrong things your entire life? In this video, I'm gonna show you how to become dangerously fearless in just a few minutes, reveal the one fear that has been secretly controlling your life, and give you the mental switch that turns cowards into conquerors. My name's Dan Henry, and I used to deliver pizza for 7 years. And I was afraid to take action in my life. I was afraid to try new things. I was afraid to learn new skills and just get out of my situation. But once I made the shift I'm about to teach you, I was able to create 5 companies that hit $1 million in their very first years in business. And I never would have done it if I let fear control my life. So the first problem is your brain is doing the math on fear completely backwards. So imagine you're standing on the ledge of a building and the building's on fire, blazing. In front of you is this ladder, and all you have to do is get on the ladder and go down to safety. But the ladder looks like a little shaky, it doesn't look so stable, but behind you is this blazing fire. Now, would you just stand there and go, well, the ladder looks a little scary, so I'm just gonna stand here and burn alive? Or would you say, it'll be fine, get on the ladder and go down to safety? Now you're probably thinking, well, of course I would take the ladder, but that's easier to say than to do. See, the ladder represents trying something new. The fire represents what happens if you don't try. Most people are so focused on the scary ladder in front of them that they're not thinking about the deadly fire behind them. The immediate fear of trying feels huge because it's right in front of you. But the long-term consequence of not trying, that's invisible until it's too late. So imagine you lived in a very hot climate. I live in Dubai, it gets very, very hot here. But you come home one day and the AC's out and it is just exhausting in your home. I mean, it is like breathing water. Your wife's at work, she's not there. You call an AC company, they come, they tell you, your AC is out, it's done. It's gonna be 15 grand for you to replace it. Now, do you have to call your wife and ask for permission to buy that new AC unit? No, of course not. You gotta buy it because as a man, it is your responsibility to provide a safe and comfortable home for your family. So no matter what you gotta do, you're gonna get that AC unit and you're gonna get it fixed and you're gonna get it fixed pronto before your wife gets home. Now that AC unit is an immediate problem right in front of you. You walked home, you can feel the problem, you can see it. But when it comes to investing in your skills to make more money, to be a better man, to be more emotionally capable, to learn how to be a better father, etc., these things are distant. They're in the future. You can't see them. They're out of sight, out of mind. And so you don't try to take care of those things. You don't go and read the books, you don't invest the money to learn skills, you don't do these things, or you don't do them as often as you should because it's not an immediate problem right in front of your face. But the crazy part about this is that those problems, when they're not solved, by the time they become right in front of your face, they're devastating. It's not the house is hot, it's the house falls down. So the principle here is the pain of trying lasts only a moment, but the pain of not trying can last a lifetime. When you are afraid and you let it affect your life, it's because what you can see is controlling you, but what you can't see is destroying you. So everybody knows the frog in hot water metaphor. If you take a frog and you put it in a pot of water and you slowly turn up the heat, the frog doesn't immediately jump out. It gets warmer and warmer and warmer until it starts boiling and the frog dies. That change in temperature is so gradual, so invisible that the frog didn't even notice it until it was too late. And that is exactly what happens when you do not take the action on your dreams. See, every day you wait feels fine because nothing dramatically changes. But 5 years later, 10 years later, you wake up and you realize that you've been slowly cooking in a pot of regret. See, the scary part isn't that gradual heat, it's the fact that you haven't noticed it until it's too late. And the principle here is that distance makes danger invisible, but proximity makes it permanent. So how do you fix it? You change the question. Fearless people, they're not born different, they just ask different questions. Most people, when they're down, when things are going bad, they constantly victimize themselves and they say to themselves, why won't the world change? Why is this happening to me? Why does everything go bad? Why am I constantly sabotaged? But successful people, they ask a different question. They say, how do I need to change? What do I need to do to change my situation? So I remember years ago, I went to visit my dad, and I told him that I was going away for the weekend to a speaking seminar. And he said, oh, a speaking seminar, how much did that cost? And I said, $50,000. And he looks at me and he says, you're gonna spend $50,000 to sit in a room for 2 days and listen to somebody talk. Now, my dad, I love him. He's taught me so much, but he never was like an entrepreneur. He wasn't like that hyper growth mindset type of person. And so I told him, Dad, I'm like, if I learn a skill that helps me grow my company, like, you don't think that's worth $50,000? And he's like, no, just go read a book or something. And I was like, okay, well, you'll see. So I go to the seminar, I learn how to be a great speaker. And about 2 months later, I did a speech in front of about 6,000 people, and I pulled about $2 million in sales out of that speech. So I go back to my dad and I say, hey, you remember that speaking seminar I went to? And he's like, yeah. I said, I used what I learned there, and I made $2 million from this speech. And you know what he says to me? He says, wow, that's great, but I still can't believe you spent 50 grand on that. Now, my father is a good man. He was a great dad. He always played with me. He always had time for me. I couldn't have asked for anything better. But he always struggled financially. And as much as I love him, I believe it's because he has a mindset that, you know, a lot of people have these days. They only focus on what something costs, and they don't focus on what it costs if they don't do it. They don't focus on what they're losing in the opportunity. Now, when I went to my more entrepreneurial friends and I told them the story, they were like, wow, dude, you turned 50 grand into 2 million. And that's the difference in mindset. It's all about the questions you ask yourself. Not, why does this cost 50 grand? Why would I do such a thing? But how can I take this investment and turn it into millions? What do I need to do? What skill do I need to learn that's preventing me from making more money, that's preventing me from improving my marriage? I mean, how many times do you know someone who has a bad marriage, but they don't want to go to therapy? They don't want to read a simple book like Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. Even just that, even just reading a simple book on how to understand women better, they don't want to do it. And this is why people don't get what they want. They fear trying. They fear wasting their time. Oh, I'm going to waste my time. This book's probably stupid. Oh, I'm going to go to therapy and waste money and da-da-da-da-da. Oh, I'm going to, learn this skill, and I don't know if I'm really going to make money from it. And the root of the issue here is we value our time, but not in the right way. So if you value your time so much that you don't have time to read a book, that you don't have time to invest and go to a seminar or learn a new skill, what you're saying is, my time is so damn valuable now that I would rather relax and not improve my life. But then later when I'm old and I look back on all the time I wasted, I look back on all the comfort that I could have had in my life, I gave that all up for a little bit of comfort now. Because that's the real root of the issue here, is that it's comfort. When you try something new, you're uncomfortable. It's much more comfortable to not try, to do something else, to watch a TV show, to even if you're a high-level entrepreneur, maybe instead of making a hard decision in your business, you decide you're gonna do busy work. You're gonna do something to make you feel busy in your business, but it's not really moving the needle. Because the other thing, that's uncomfortable. And what I truly believe that is selfishness. Because what you're saying is, hey, listen, I have an opportunity here that if I'm a little uncomfortable now, if I go down that shaky ladder now, I can create a lot of comfort for my family in the future, a lot of security, a lot of financial blessings if I'm uncomfortable now. But because I don't want that discomfort, I am going to not do that thing, and then I'm going to be 10 times more uncomfortable in the future when I have not built the life that I want to build. And so you're choosing the wrong discomfort. The discomfort in the future is 100 times worse than the discomfort now. You'd rather be on fire than walk down a shaky ladder. And that is selfishness. you're not creating the future for your family because it's a little uncomfortable. So part of this is not just asking the right question, it's realizing that this is rooted in selfishness. You have to get over yourself. You have to do the uncomfortable thing because that is the selfless thing to do for your children, for your family, and that's it. And look, I don't blame you. You might not have just done the math on this. You might not have just realized that this is what's actually happening upstairs. And so if you want to completely change your life and become fearless, it's not actually about becoming fearless. It's about being more afraid of the future than of the present. It's being more afraid of what happens if you don't do the uncomfortable thing now and you cause massive consequences in the future. So here's a little exercise you can do. Close your eyes and think of an ultra successful version of yourself 5 years from now. Ask yourself, what does that person do? What time do they get up? What are their behaviors? What are the type of decisions they make? What do they value? What is different about that ultra successful version of you versus how you are now? Take a piece of paper and write down all of those qualities. Then start acting, behaving, and making decisions like that future version of yourself, because that future version of yourself, that 80-year-old who is laying in his bed, looking back at his life and going, man, I have no regrets. He's counting on you to make the right decision today. Because if you don't, then he's going to be laying awake in bed, closing his eyes with tears rolling down his cheek, wishing he would have put himself out there, wishing he would have taken his shot, wishing he would have done things differently, like 99% of people when they die. So if you don't want to be that 99%, if you want to be the 1%, you got to look at that sheet of paper and you got to start living it. Because when you start living it today, that 5 years, it ain't gonna be 5 years. It could be 5 months. But not if you fear the small discomfort that is in front of you today more than you fear the big discomfort that is in your future. Choose your fear. You're gonna be afraid anyway. You will never be fearless. Human beings are not fearless, but successful human beings choose what they are most fearful of. And the day you choose to be more afraid of what happens if you don't try is the day you can't help but try. So if you're gonna be afraid anyway, use it to fuel your success, not your failure. Most life-changing decisions only take 10 seconds of courage. What fear are you gonna choose?